Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to Daily Newcastle. My name is Ian Mackay. I'm hosting tonight. I have my black and white buddy, the Ginger Ninja, Mrs. Joanne Ayres. Sorry, I just divorced you there, Pet. Who's joining me. And tonight we are joined by Kieran McGinley and Tom Cairns from the Daily Manchester United podcast, because we're together going to cross over and preview Sunday's game at St James's Park, 4:30 kickoff, which is a super important league game for us. And I suspect, but we'll find out, probably a bit of a distraction in between two very important European games for Manchester United. But I'm interested, Kieran and Tom, to know if that is the case. Manchester United, quite hilariously for the rest of us, have really struggled this year and have left themselves with absolutely no jeopardy whatsoever in the Premier League. Could win all 7 of the last games and not get anywhere near Europe, and of course nowhere near getting dragged into any relegation battle. How do you approach that? Does that mean that Europa League is accepted by the fans as being the main priority, and the league can just work itself out, or do you still want to get those points on the board in the Premiership?
We're still looking for that magical 40 points, isn't it? That legendary 40 points in the save from relegation. But we're on 38 at the moment. Would be nice to break 40. I think
not on Sunday, Kieran. Not on Sunday.
Well, let's see what happens. But yeah, I think Europa League has been welcome because we're undefeated in the entire competition so far. So that's been a welcome change to what has been a pretty dismal Premier League. I'd been saying towards the start of this season, look, we can't have another season like last. We finished 8th. It was our worst finish in the modern Premier League era. So I'm eating humble pie at that one as well. So it's gone remarkably south quite quickly, but there's been some promising signs. There's still a chance for top half. I know Tom has spoken previously about it's Europa League or bust, haven't you, Tom?
Yep, absolutely. But the Europa League is something that United have been used to for a number of seasons since Relics had retired. But it is our only hope if we are going to be playing in Europe at all next season, because I don't see us finishing high enough in the top half to even be, within the fray to qualify for Europe, depending on how wins the domestic cups. Because I know Newcastle have already won the Carabao Cup and have got automatic qualification for the Conference League, but it looks like they're going to be heading for a higher tier UEFA competition. Hopefully it's the Champions League, really, because there are a few teams obviously up there which I don't particularly like. But weirdly enough, I've always had a soft spot for Newcastle. So if there was a team that I know, other than us, if I know that we can't do well, I'd be happy for Newcastle to achieve something big for them this season.
Shucks, Tom, you're making Joe and I blush, mate.
Tom, really I know. You're my new favourite Man U fan.
Thanks a lot.
Sorry, Kieran, you can be my second one.
I know what I'm not.
Tom got in there first. I'm sorry.
You can't possibly share what the general Newcastle crowd's opinion of Manchester United is after that. I won't do. I don't think there's any hate for Manchester United this season from us, because more pity, to be honest, because you've got some great players who just haven't performed over and over and over again. So bad, you ship them off, and then they become world beaters again, like Anthony, like Rashford. Going back a little bit further, how could you let Elanga go? Elanga is top of Kev's wish list for who Newcastle start spending their Saudi millions on to bring into the Newcastle side. And you let him go. You let him go and kept Anthony.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's a topic that's actually come up previously on a couple of episodes ago. We let Elanga go, but the feeling from us is that he was not going to be used in our system. We would have brought in another winger or whatever. Elanga was just one of those that was always going to be a squad player on the fringes. To see him go to Forest and score against us, but to see him doing well, I think is better than what he could have achieved at Manchester United, and just sort of fading away into ignominy like a lot of Manchester United talents have in the past. So it's good to see him actually be a good Premier League player.
Yeah.
Well, look, we're going to come on to injuries and suspensions and who's available, who's not, what the team's going to be that you think later. But just in general, do you think that Amorim is looking at his squad? He's got 3 games in 7 days, effectively. It's the one either side of the Newcastle game that is surely his main priority when it comes to resting players, when it comes to not risking players. Does that mean that they'll have a kick on into the side that turns up to play at St James's on Sunday? Tom, you tell
Yeah.
me. You're the Europa League man.
Yeah, well, we've been in this situation before because remember the 2016-17 season where we played against the likes of Arsenal and Tottenham in the run into the season. I think we had Europa League games on either side of those games. And we were able to use the Arsenal and Tottenham games to field like some of these sort of young players a little bit. Remember Tim Fosu-Mensah getting a few minutes underneath him. And of course, we gave the debut of Scott McTominay in the Manchester United senior team at Arsenal. Even though we lost the game, it was still good to see him get some minutes under his belt. And I was thinking about the Newcastle game on Sunday, and I was thinking to myself, who do I think could end up starting? I'd like to see Chido-Obi get some minutes under his belt, because we've been saying, Kieran, for some time that I think Chido-Obi, at this moment in time, at best he is a squad player, but I think he's someone who can do bits within the team. And that's why I think it's worth giving him a go, considering the form that Rasmus Højlund has been in. Because I have to say, of all the strikers I've seen, in a Manchester United team across the whole season, as far as the Premier League is concerned, Rasmus Højlund is clearly not a Manchester United player. I don't know what you would say to that.
Well, you know what? It's an honest assessment. I'll give you that, Tom. He's been mainly running on cold this season, and we sort of thought to ourselves, right, in European competition, that's where he really comes alive, and he showed that in the Europa League early on. He showed that in the European competition last season. So it was a case of maybe he just needs to find that form. He had an injury last season, which sort of scuppered that just when he found some form, but he's never really recaptured that. And I just think, we're 13th. We've got nothing to play for in the Premier League. Why not throw in Chido-Obi? Why not throw in Victor Musa, who's got a hatful of goals against the Leeds under 18s? Probably you've all seen that by now. Why not put on Victor Musa? What have we got to lose? We've had a strike force that has barely got 7 or 8 goals between them this season. I mean, that's poor from a Manchester United side.
Do you think he'd sell that to Højlund by saying he wants to keep him fresh for the European games? Or do you think he'd be saying, I'm so disappointed in you, mate, I'm going to try some of these kids untested, even in the cauldron of a Newcastle team trying to hunt down Champions League places?
Both sound
We're
good.
expecting obviously a sellout crowd, a huge atmosphere, because there's always a huge atmosphere when Man United come to town. It was the game we looked forward to because we had a chance of winning it, because we never had a chance of beating Liverpool or City or Arsenal when Steve Bruce was in charge. But we did win once or twice when Steve Bruce was in charge. And that's continued when Eddie is in charge. So, and it's a huge game for us. It really is. It's quite nice, I think, that we've got 8 games left. We've got Palace as our game in hand, which comes up on Wednesday. When you're after the Man U game. It's quite nice not having any European distractions. We can just focus on these 8 cup finals, which I know is a cliche, but they are, without there being any other distractions for us. So, yeah, I would fear for Man U if they turned up without being fully on it. We did that. Went to Leicester, blitzed them, went 2 up after 10 minutes, and basically just sparred with them. We didn't get out of second gear. Ended up winning
Off after the half
3-0.
time, didn't we, really?
Yeah. It was such a boring second half to watch.
It was like.
Which is amazing when you're winning 3-0 away from home. Let's say the second half was really dull, but it was. But I know that's the same result you got at Leicester, of course, a couple of weeks earlier. So it should be close, I think, because I really do. I'm not fearful. I'm not. I think we'll have too much for you, but I don't think you're in the disarray that you were in when we turned up and beat you at Old Trafford in January. I think the green shoots are definitely coming through, and it's the young players that are providing a lot of them. Obviously, guided by Fernandes, who is a player that we didn't really like when we chose our most hated player in the Premier League. He was in there, but
I
you
hate
can't
him.
deny.
I'm not gonna lie.
You can't deny the consistency of his performance.
Mm.
He seems to have got over the sulkiness that he had last year when things were going bad, and just kept going on with it.
Kieran, I'm
Not
with you.
really.
Don't worry. No, I
Not
can't
really.
get that, Ian. Ian, I'm not sure what
No.
you're watching. Come
Well,
on,
it's
he's naturally
maybe
sulky, isn't he? Is it a
because
Portuguese thing? Is it, or what is it?
maybe it's because Manchester United have had better results more recently that he hasn't had the
Yeah.
opportunity to be sulky. That's probably it.
Mm.
Look,
What I will say,
we'll get. Go on.
I will say he's been a better leader than he has been last season. I think he's shown improvements in actually leading the
Yeah.
squad. I'm sure I can't remember, Tom, if you agree with that sentiment or not.
Well, I've always liked Bruno since he came in 2020, and I do get why people have not liked him at times because of his attitude and the way he confronts referees when decisions didn't go for him as though he should have had. I do agree that perhaps some of the decisions that went against him, he had reason to feel rather temperament about, like the sending off against Tottenham this season, which was later rescinded, and then he got sent off again in the Europa League at Porto, which was there was no arguments on that one, and that obviously brought a lot of acrimony, if that's the right word, on him in terms of the way he acts on a football pitch. But I think he's got his head down and just got on with it, really, because he knows the situation that United are in, and he knows that it's not just him that's the problem. It's the way the club is being run. It's the way the system has had to change under Amorim from the moment he arrived. What I remember as well is that Ruben Amorim arrived knowing that it wasn't the ideal time for him to arrive. He wanted to arrive in the summer, this summer coming up, but United said, no, you've got to come in now. So he kind of threw himself in the deep end knowing that he was going to be working with a lot of dead wood, it has to be said. Although, can he turn that dead wood into a system where he knows that team can actually play well together? I think there are a number of things he's got right so far. He just needs some additional tools to make it work, because the defence has actually improved when you think of it. It's the killer instincts going up front is where United is lacking. And we saw it in the games against Forest and City, where I don't think we had any. We had shots on target against Forest, but I don't think we had one against City on target, as far as I can remember.
He certainly looked as if he should have won that game, though. Whether there were no shots on target or not, I thought you were on top. Look, a better pause. We're overrunning. Let's get our special guest, Mr. Ken Davis. Can you do it from that side of the room, Ken? Just shout, mate.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Cheers, Ken. Your money's in an envelope just on top of the counter in the kitchen. We'll see you next week. Back to part two. Well, who's going to play for us then, and Hughes? What are the teams? Joanne, what do you think? Who are Newcastle starting?
I don't expect to see any changes. We know what Eddie's like. He loves playing his strongest team, no matter whether we've got 3 games in the space of a week. But I realistically expect exactly who's playing. The only change that might happen for me is Gordon coming back, but that obviously depends on his injury. But this injury wasn't supposed to be too bad. It was just some bruising on the thigh, or I don't know, that's the best it's been described as, isn't it, when he was off in England. But for him coming in for Barnes would probably be the only change I kind of foresee. Other than that, do you really expect Eddie to change much? He loves not changing anything. Let's get real. Obviously, I can't comment on the Man U team. You guys are going to have to fill me in there. But I'm obviously pleased to hear that certain people are injured. I won't lie. if Bruno could get injured as well, I'm not going to lie, I think we'd absolutely smash you guys. So, but I'll leave that one. But yeah, I mean, obviously, with Newcastle at the minute, we are playing really strong. No one deserves to be dropped as well. It's a strange one, isn't it? But we had this discussion. I was talking with Kevin Nick yesterday about it, and as much as we have got 3 games coming up, and Kev was asking us the question of which game would you start like rotating on. It's a strange one because I kind of said the Palace game maybe, because as much as Man U, everyone's like, oh, we'll win. We can never take this for granted at all. You know, it's you guys aren't exactly on the worst of runs, like Ian said before. All right, we beat you early in the season, but you were playing worse then. We've got to take this game very seriously. And I think, if I'm honest, how you guys come out and how you guys perform is very dependent on tomorrow's result. If you guys happen to get some absolutely smashing result against Lyon and you're like goals and goals ahead, you can concentrate more on the league all of a sudden, can't you? Because that second leg isn't really going to matter that much. I know I say matter that much, but you know what I mean? You can protect it a lot easier, can't you? But so it's a strange one because I think I would love to know what the result's going to be tomorrow before I'd really see how the match is going to go on Sunday. But I'll go in there confident, but I don't see any changes, really.
Excellent. Kieran, I know you have to shoot before we finish. So I'm just going to pause. I'll check with Tom about the Man United side later. You need to give us a prediction, bud. You're not getting out of that by just sloping off early.
I thought I could. I'm going to stick to my guns, what I said on yesterday's episode of the Daily Manchester. I'm going to go 1-1. I think it's going to be fairly open, but I think Joe's right. It's a game where we could show up. We haven't scored a goal since the international break, so it'll be quite nice to get one. Yeah, I think 1-1. Probably Bruno. Probably, I'm going to say it, both Bruno's going to score. There you go. Everybody's happy.
That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Double Bruno, eh? Bruno squared. Excellent. So this is going to be interesting because I know Kieran is going to go, but he's going to leave his computer running so we get everything recorded at the end. And I think that means we're going to have a lovely green screen in the middle of our YouTube channel all the way through, but that's fine. Thank you very much indeed, Kieran, for being able to join in anyway and to do the first part. That's really helpful.
Tom, do us
Joe and I
proud.
can now want you to go so we can now gang up and bully Tom. We've lulled him into a false sense of security.
Haven't we trapped him now?
Well, enjoy.
Tom's like, I'm gone.
Right. Thank you, Kieran. I'm not even going to notice or mention you've gone. Oh, there, he's gone. Tom, who's going to start for Man United, do you think? Who can't start for Man United?
Well,
Injuries, suspensions.
Well, there's one player that I would most certainly not start at the moment, and that's Garnacho. And the reason being is because he makes more of a positive impact when he comes off the bench. Listen to what a fellow Manchester United fan has had to say about Garnacho's performances and where he's effective and where he's not. It's the right-hand side where he's more effective, whereas on the left-hand side, he's just becoming increasingly selfish and inconsistent, especially when he's getting these shots away and trying to get it on target. And I think he had like 6 shots in the game against Forest the other week, and all of them were off target. And I think the more times we keep seeing him cut across from the left flank and trying to get a shot away from 20, 25 yards, it just ends up going wide or over the bar by quite some way. So that kind of habit needs to change within Garnacho if he is going to be starting, but I hope he doesn't. I think Onana will be in goal, as obvious. I think at least one of the centre-halves that feature against Lyon will end up being rested. Hence why I think it'll be Lindelof, Maguire, and it'll probably end up being De Ligt just to strengthen the backline a little bit, just so it's not too weak there. You've got Dello on the right-hand side at wing-back and Dorgu at left wing-back as well, because we've got no other options. And then I would like to see Toby Collier get a start, because he's not featured too much for United, but he has been a name mentioned a number of times already. He'll probably be alongside Ugarte, because Casemiro won't get enough minutes under his belt, considering his age and the level of fitness he's in. And we need him for the second leg against Lyon, I think, just for stability. Then the attacking mids. I would want to start Mount, Fernandes, and then up front, Chidirobi. I think Chidirobi would be nice to see him get his first start and then just see how he gets on. He probably won't do the whole match, but it's more minutes that we're going to see from him combined compared to what we saw from him in the games against the likes of Tottenham, Everton and Fulham. So that would be
And
what I go for.
is that because you're frustrated with the product that Hoyland and Xerxes making, or is it because you want to rest them
I kind
and
of
start building some of the youngsters?
Well, from what I saw from Xerxes in the games in the Europa League, I think he is going to be a valuable asset, certainly more than I think what Hoyland will be. But Hoyland's been as frustrating as he is. And I was debating with Kieran and others whether it was the lack of service that Hoyland's been getting, but whenever he's got on the ball, there's just no confidence in him at all. And at this stage of the season, we need to have motivation and confidence up front and that killer instinct, and we don't have that right now. So I'm not expecting us to get that much out of it, but if we can just stay in the game for as long as possible, then at least we've got something we can work with into the second leg. But as you've rightly mentioned, it really depends on how we get on in the first leg against Lyon in France tomorrow evening.
Excellent. Well, I mean, the Newcastle team will be the same as the cup final, the same that played against Brentford, the same that played against Leicester. If Eddie's resting players, it tends to be an earlier substitution that he'll do rather than miss them out altogether. It was slightly alarming that Gordon didn't actually make it onto the bench at Leicester. So that bruise that he got when he was only playing for England might be a little bit more serious than anyone's let on. So I'd like to see Gordon at least be on the bench to let us know that is improving. And Willock was off for a concussion, so he'll come back onto the bench. And like you, I would love to see some of these under-21s that are doing so well at the moment get a chance to come on. We've had this Sean. Is it Sean Neve, Joanne?
Neve, yeah.
Yeah, he's been on the bench 2 or 3 times. We've
Yet
never
to
seen
play,
him
though.
play. I've never seen him play. So, yeah, if you're going to put him on the bench, Eddie, let's have a look at those guys. I'm going to pause there. Joanne, can you do us the Zencastr advert? We'll come back, see who Tom is worried about on the Newcastle side, and then we'll do some predictions.
Cool. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone in AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Thank you very much, Joanne.
Nice.
I think the Man United attack will revolve around how comfortable Bruno is feeling. I think he's the danger man. I'm not really worried about anybody else, although this guy who scored a load of goals that's going to step into centre forward and replace the blunt attacking force that's Hoyland, he might be a bit of a maverick that'll work. So, have you got anybody you're particularly worried about on the Man U side, Joanne?
I think the obvious one's Bruno, isn't it, really? That's why I joked before, if he could get injured, I'd feel massively confident that we'll just take the game. But I don't want to show any disrespect to the rest of the team, because like I say, they are playing better now than when we played them the first time round this season.
I think Dorgu was a good buy, definitely.
Yeah. As I say, it's such a tough one, because I really don't know how you guys are going to line up. As I say, I'll go back to what I just said before. It is obviously heavily dependent on how you play tomorrow night. But yeah, I would say I'm worried about Onana, but I'm not. Like, that guy's dodgy, man. Like, I don't know what you think about him, Tom, but I don't know. He's a strange keeper, because he can pull off some great saves, or he can just be absolutely tragic. I'm not quite sure what he is, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I'd say the main concern and the obvious concern is obviously Bruno.
In regards to... Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, you continue. If you're following on there, continue, please. I'm just going to ask you who you're worried about at Newcastle.
Well, I am worried about Newcastle, but it's mainly down to how we set up on the attacking front. And I think it's important that we keep Newcastle honest, really, just to show that we still mean business, even though we're not in the best of form in regards to consistency up front. But answering your thing about Onana, Joe, I think he is an unpredictable goalkeeper. He's not a David De Gea or Edwin van der Sar or a Peter Schmeichel. We all know that. but we know he is someone that can do bits for us, and he has pulled off some really good saves. It is kindly partly down to how we defend when we do concede, but I think it's easy enough to point the blame at the goalkeeper when they do concede, but it's how Man United as a whole, as a squad, as a team, respond to the misfortunes. And whenever we go behind, or whenever we do concede at such a really critical time, we just fold and we don't respond.
Yeah.
I think what you've got to not do again, because we destroyed you in that first half at Old Trafford, and that was because Casemiro and Eriksen were in midfield. You definitely need some energy in midfield to counter our Brunaliton threesome. I'm being quite impressed with Ugarte, actually. I think he does a very good job for you, and that will definitely take more for our lads to get on top of than either Casemiro or Eriksen did. But yeah, so you think it's obvious, isn't it? Isak is out to score. Wilson looks sharp now when he comes on as a substitute. Barnes has got another goal and now playing and starting. I know we're dangerous. We are dangerous. I'm not going to ask you to try and pick any individual one out because we'll get wrong. It'll be Jacob Murphy who scores first again.
Let's hope so.
Right. What's your prediction for the score, Tom?
I would expect Newcastle to win this one. And I think it'll be a 2-0 win. It won't be a romp or like a 3-0 or a 4-0. I was surprised that they didn't score more in the game at Old Trafford in December when you played us, because that first half an hour we were just all over the place, and the likes of Eriksen and Casemiro and even Xerxes, because if you remember, Xerxes was subbed off after the second goal we conceded, and it was demoralising on him. But I don't expect the same to happen at Newcastle. I think United will make more of a game of it, but I still think Newcastle will have far too much on them, and United will just play the safe game and just make sure that we don't get any suspensions or injuries from that. So I would expect a rather comfortable Newcastle win, 2-0.
I hope you're right, Tom. What do you think, Joe?
Tom's more positive than me. I mean, I'm going for a win, as I always do. I can never not predict a win with Newcastle, but so I massively respect you there, Tom, for doing that, I'll be honest. I'm going to go 2-1 again. I think it'll be a tight game. I do think we can take it, but I do think you guys will get a goal. Whether it's Bruno or not, like Kieran said, I don't know. But yeah, I just don't think... You're right, I do not think it's going to be a romp at all. I expect a win, but I expect a very narrow win.
I'm going to go slightly clearer than that, Joe. As I do for every game, Tom. I don't know if you know, every one of my Newcastle United predictions is for Newcastle to win 3-1, which I'm going for this time as well. And that's because it keeps coming in. They keep winning 3-1. But I do think that that's a sensible choice for this game, for the reasons you've mentioned. I just think that if they've played on the Thursday and they know they've got another match and it's close, they'll hold something back for it. Whether that's squad members that come off too early or don't get start, or the players themselves. This is 95%. They're not going into 50-50 tackles to get injured before the second leg. I think Joe Linton, Tonali and Bruno will win the midfield battle. And then when they do that, we've got Barnes and Murphy and Isak up front to pick their way through. So yeah, 3-1 for me. Yeah, I think I might be right. I don't know. Anyway, look, this is working out to finish dead on 30 minutes if I waffle for another half a minute. I'm not going to waffle. I'm going to say thank you very much indeed for having the stamina to last the full 90 minutes, Tom. Kieran went off at half time, but never mind. Thank you very much indeed. Hope it's a good game. You're not coming up for it, are you, or are you?
No, I won't be going to the game on Sunday. I've got commentary duties for doing involving another sport, but I will try and still watch the game on Sunday anyway.
Yeah, Joanne will be there. This is the one game I haven't been able to get Joanne to get me tickets for, unfortunately.
I know. I do apologise.
But we're at the next ones. Show is still Manchester United, still the most popular draw that we have, because I've had tickets for all of the other home games. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Tom. Thank you very much indeed for your input, Joanne. What a pleasure as always. Thanks very much, everyone, for listening. It's only Wednesday when we're recording it, so it does seem a long way to Sunday afternoon. But time ticks, doesn't it? And it'll be here soon enough. So we shall see you all tomorrow with another pod.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.